From the Hakarl common in Iceland to the eating of bushmeats prevalent in Africa, here are the most controversial foods that humans eat across all cultures. Number 7 will shock you. Not only that, we'll share why they're indeed controversial and banned in some countries. Now, pay attention. Number 1, Hakarl. Can your stomach handle this pungent ammonia-rich flavor that many find repulsive? If you visited Iceland, you'll notice how they cherish this traditional dish. They cook this meal by fermenting shark meats. This usually involves burying the shark in gravelly sand for several weeks and then hanging it to dry for several months. The final result is a pungent, ammonia-rich meat that has a distinct and intense flavor. It's very popular during the midwinter festival Parablot, where Icelanders celebrate their Viking heritage by eating traditional foods. The common Greenland shark, which has high quantities of urea and trimethylamine oxide in its flesh, is toxic when it is fresh, which is why Hakarl poses a health danger. But these molecules are broken down during the fermentation process, which renders the food safe to ingest. Even yet, a lot of people are taken aback by the flavor and aroma, frequently calling it one of the hardest things to eat. However, there are no major issues surrounding Hakarl as it's widely accepted and available in Iceland, just that it can be a shock to foreigners. Number 2, Casu Marzu. Casu Marzu may be a cultural gem and sought after when tourists visit Sardinia, but eating live maggots in your cheese would definitely make you feel uncomfortable. Casu Marzu is a unique cheese that is very popular in Sardinia. It is usually prepared with live maggots. To make this cheese, sheep's milk is usually collected and allowed to ferment. This fermentation will then draw cheese flies that will then deposit their eggs within. The larvae start to break down the lipids in the cheese as soon as they hatch, giving it a smooth, nearly liquid quality. In Sardinia, this cheese holds significant cultural importance, where it is often enjoyed during special occasions and celebrations. It is seen as a symbol of tradition and heritage, with recipes and techniques passed down through generations. But why is it controversial? The health dangers and hygienic concerns are undoubtedly the reason why Casu Marzu is controversial. When startled, the live larvae occasionally jump, which can be rather shocking. In addition, consuming the maggots poses a risk of intestinal issues if they survive the stomach's acid environment. Owing to health and safety standards, Casu Marzu is currently subject to stringent controls throughout the European Union. Though it is manufactured and consumed locally in Sardinia, its sale is strictly prohibited. Number 3, Bluefin Tuna. When we speak of the crown jewel of the ocean, all hands point to the bluefin tuna. This fish is known for its rich, fatty flesh that melts in your mouth. If you visited a sushi bar, you'll discover that some chefs prize it for dishes like sushi and sashimi, where its delicate flavor and texture can shine. Japanese culture holds this fish in a special place, particularly in preparing sushi and sashimi. It's often featured in high-end omakase menus, where chefs showcase the best cuts of fish. If you visited Japan and attended a traditional sushi-making class, you'll hear instructors speak passionately about the importance of bluefin tuna in Japanese culinary traditions. They see it as a symbol of craftsmanship, especially to the skill of sushi chefs who can turn it into a sublime dining experience. But why is it a problem? Overfishing is the main cause of the bluefish tuna problem. The population of this fish has significantly declined as a result of demand, particularly from Japan. The amount of bluefin tuna has been dangerously declining as a result of fishermen having to dive deeper and farther in order to catch them. In addition to endangering the species, this overfishing also damages marine habitats. Bluefin tuna population declines have grown to be a serious problem. Scientists have issued a warning that the species may go extinct if present fishing methods are kept up. Bluefin tuna conservation initiatives have resulted in a number of laws and fishing limits. Strict quotas in bluefin tuna catches have been imposed by international organizations such as the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas, or ICCAT, in an effort to support stock replenishment. However, local fishermen's livelihood has been impacted by these quotas. Even while they recognize the need for conservation, the limitations have made it difficult for them to continue operating their business. Number 4, whale meat. Whale meat comes in a variety of types, such as mink and fin whale. Each has its own unique flavor and texture. This meal is often prepared in traditional ways like grilling, stewing, or served raw as sashimi. It has deep cultural roots in Japan, Norway, and Iceland, where it has been part of the diet for centuries. In fact, in Japan, it was a crucial source of protein during post-war times. Here's the interesting part. Norway has a whaling museum called the Sandefjord Museum. This shows how whaling has shaped local traditions and livelihoods, making it more than just a source of food, but a part of their heritage. But the problem is, whale populations are declining. Many species of whales are endangered, and hunting them raises serious questions about conservation and animal rights. Thankfully, restrictions have been put in place to regulate and protect whale populations. The International Whaling Commission has imposed strict limits, but some countries continue to hunt whales under scientific permits or objection to the bans. Number 5. Foie gras. Foie gras might be a fancy dish for your date night in Paris. This meal is made from the liver of ducks or geese, after it has been specially fattened. Here, you force-feed the birds with large amounts of corn through a tube. This is known as gavaging. After the gavaging process, the liver of the ducks or geese now becomes very large. If you've ever tried this meal, at first it's very creamy and has this melt-in-your-mouth flavor. But the issue here is how it's made, and there are ethical concerns. In fact, many animal rights activists will argue that force-feeding ducks and geese is cruel and inhumane. Basically, these birds are confined to small cages or pens, which restricts their movement and subjected to daily feedings that cause their livers to swell up to 10 times their normal size. In other words, this can lead to various health problems for the birds, including difficulty breathing and walking. That's why protests have been going on against foie gras, with activists often emphasizing the distress and suffering the birds endure. It's true that foie gras holds significant cultural importance in regions like France, which believes that it is a symbol of gastronomic heritage. The French see it as an artisanal craft, and some producers will adhere to traditional methods that are claimed to be less harsh on the animals. Even in festive seasons like Christmas and New Year's Eve, it's often featured in high-end restaurants. Despite that, foie gras has been banned by several countries and regions. This includes countries like India and Israel. And it's illegal to produce foie gras in California, though it can still be sold there. The European Union has set regulations requiring that foie gras production adhere to specific animal welfare standards, though these have not completely quelled the controversy. The clash between cultural appreciation and ethical consideration makes foie gras one of the most controversial foods humans consume. Number 6. Ortolan Bunting. Relishing a rare French delicacy. While the tiny songbird on your plate was force-fed and drowned in brandy, only to become an endangered species. This is the case of Ortolan Bunting. Frankly, I'm shocked to see that some cultures eat birds outside the domesticated ones. When we look at history, the ortolan has been a delicacy enjoyed by French gourmands for centuries. It was a favorite of former French President François Mitterrand, who reportedly requested it for his last meal. The preparation process involves capturing the bird alive, beating it excessively, and then drowning it in armagnac. After this, it is then roasted and eaten whole, bones and all under a napkin, which is said to both keep in the aromas and hide the act from God's eyes. This method, while traditional, has led to severe ethical concerns due to its cruel nature. Why? Because it has been confirmed that the Ortolan bunting is an endangered species. Its population has been drastically decreased by overhunting, prompting requests for stricter protections. Animal rights advocates have denounced eating the bird, claiming that the preparation process is cruel. The hunting and eating of Ortolan bunting is prohibited throughout the European Union, despite the bird's significance to culture. These regulations aim to preserve and safeguard the declining bird population, but in other places, the practice is still prohibited because of the high demand from those who want to try this unusual meal. The enforcement of these prohibitions is still difficult, and attempts to stop illicit hunting frequently fail. Number 7. Shark fin soup. The Chinese believe shark fin soup is a symbol of luxurious Chinese banquet. But when you realize the brutal practice of slicing off fins and leaving the sharks to die, you'll care for a species of fish that is facing an existential threat. This classic Chinese dish is prepared from shark fins, which are generally dried and processed before being mixed into a savory soup. Surprisingly, the fins have no taste, but are prized for their distinctive gelatinous texture. Now, here's where the issue lies. The controversy around the shark fin soup is largely due to the environmental impact of shark finning. Let me explain the process. The process mainly includes catching sharks and slicing off their fins before putting the rest of the shark back into the ocean, where it usually dies. This is quite cruel, right? There has been concern about the huge reduction in shark numbers, which has undoubtedly affected marine ecosystems because sharks are top predators. According to marine biologists, finning has reduced the population of some shark species by up to 90%. This is why environmentalists and conservationists are outraged, claiming that it jeopardizes the balance of marine life and biodiversity. This tradition has not completely disappeared since it has a strong cultural importance in Chinese society. It is frequently offered at significant occasions such as weddings, banquets, and Lunar New Year celebrations, representing wealth, rank, and respect. Many Chinese individuals find it difficult to give up this tradition. Some people believe that having this dinner is a means to commemorate their ancestors and express thanks to the family's success. This cultural attachment elevates the dish beyond mere cuisine to become part of a rich tradition and social fabric. However, shark finning and the sale of shark fin soup have faced increasing restrictions worldwide. It's banned in the US, Canada, and the European Union. In fact, some places like California and Hawaii have gone further by prohibiting the sale and possession of shark fins altogether. Chinese restaurants in these regions no longer serve shark fin soup, aligning with local regulations and growing public awareness. Number 8. Bushmeat. Bushmeat might be a vital protein source with a cultural significance in some regions. But are you aware it involves hunting endangered species and poses serious health risks? The likes of antelopes, primates, and other endangered species are consumed in many regions across Africa, Asia, and South America. Hunting wild animals is necessary in areas when alternative protein sources are few. It is deeply embedded into their way of life, and it is used in ceremonies and other customs. But it is a controversial issue because bushmeat affects endangered animals and poses threats to public health. These animals' populations frequently drop as a result of hunting, bringing several species dangerously near to extinction. Also, bushmeat may harbor zoonotic infections, which can spread from animals to people, as demonstrated by the case of Ebola and other viruses. International wildfire protection laws strictly regulate the trading and consumption of bushmeat. But enforcement is difficult, particularly in isolated places, where it is an essential resource. Attempts to stop the practice frequently clash with local customs and economic realities. Initiatives to preserve endangered animals and identify sustainable substitutes while honoring cultural customs are under work in several locations. Because of these intricate relationships, bushmeat is a highly sensitive and contentious topic worldwide. There you have it. Have you tasted any of these meals? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting videos like this.